Tomorrow is a lie. The day that never came. Tomorrow. It is one of the most beautiful words we have ever invented. Tomorrow gives us hope. Tomorrow tells us that we have another chance. Tomorrow makes difficult things feel easier. We say, I'll start tomorrow. I'll change tomorrow. I'll call them tomorrow. I'll follow my dream tomorrow. I'll spend time with my family tomorrow. I'll become the person I want to be tomorrow. But there is something nobody tells us. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. Tomorrow is a promise made by the future. But the future never signed the agreement. Quota. Tomorrow is a lie when today is waiting for you to live. Think about that. How many things have you postponed? How many dreams have you placed on a calendar? How many conversations have you delayed? How many times have you told yourself, not today? Maybe you believe you have plenty of time. But time doesn't tell you when it is leaving. It simply leaves. Today, I want to tell you a story. A story about a man who spent his entire life waiting for tomorrow. And when tomorrow finally arrived, he discovered something terrifying. There was no tomorrow left. The boy who had plenty of time. There was once a boy named Arun. Arun grew up in a small town with his parents. His father was a hard-working man. Every morning, before the sun rose, his father would leave home for work. Every evening, he would return tired. But no matter how tired he was, he always smiled when he saw his son. Arun, his father would say, Come, sit with me. Sometimes they would talk. Sometimes they would drink tea together. Sometimes they would simply sit quietly. But Arun was young. And young people often believe something dangerous. They believe time is unlimited. One evening, his father asked, Son, will you come with me tomorrow morning? I want to show you something. Arun was playing with his friends. He looked at his father and said, Tomorrow, Dad. His father smiled. Okay, tomorrow. The next morning came, but Arun forgot. A week passed, then another. One day became another, and another. His father never complained, because he believed there would always be another tomorrow. Years passed. Arun grew older. He went to school, then college. Then he found a job. His life became busy. His father became older. One evening, his father called him. Son, can you come home this weekend? Arun looked at his calendar. He had work, meetings, deadlines, responsibilities. So he said, Dad, I'm busy this week. I'll come next weekend. His father replied, Okay, son. That was their last conversation, because before the next weekend arrived, his father died. Long pause. Arun stood at his father's funeral. He couldn't speak. He couldn't cry. He simply stared at the ground. And one thought kept repeating inside his mind. I thought I had more time. He remembered every tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll visit. Tomorrow I'll call. Tomorrow I'll sit with him. Tomorrow I'll tell him I love him. But tomorrow had become yesterday, and yesterday could never be changed. The first lesson. We often treat time like money. We believe that if we don't spend it today, we can spend it tomorrow. But time doesn't work that way. Money can be saved. Time cannot. If you don't use today's hour, you don't get that hour back. You can earn another dollar. You can find another opportunity. You can replace a broken phone. You can buy another house. Not by yesterday. Quota. The most expensive thing you waste is not money. It is time. Think about the last year of your life. Where did it go? It feels like yesterday, doesn't it? You blinked, and another year disappeared. That's the strange thing about life. When we are young, we think years are long. When we become older, we realize years were short. And the problem is not that life is too short. The problem is that we spend too much of it waiting. Waiting for the right time. Waiting for more money. Waiting for confidence. Waiting for motivation. Waiting for someone to approve of us. Waiting for tomorrow. The man who waited for the perfect life, Arun, continued living. He became successful. He earned good money. He bought a beautiful house. He purchased a car. He traveled. People looked at him and said, You are lucky. But Arun didn't feel lucky. He was always waiting for something. He told himself, when I earn more money, I'll be happy. So he worked harder. Then he said, when I become successful, I'll enjoy life. So he worked even harder. Then, when I retire, I'll travel. When I have more free time, I'll spend time with my family. When life becomes easier, I'll finally live. But life never became easier. There was always another problem, another bill, another deadline, another responsibility, another tomorrow. One evening, Arun sat alone in his expensive house. Everything around him was beautiful, but the room felt empty. He looked at an old photograph. It was a picture of his father, and suddenly he understood. His father had not been asking for money. He had not wanted a big gift. He had simply wanted his son's time. And Arun had been giving his time to everything, except the people he loved. Quota. A life postponed is still a life lost. The letter. One night, Arun found an old box belonging to his father. Inside were photographs, letters, and an old notebook. He opened the notebook. On the first page, his father had written, "Things I want to do with my son." Arun turned the page. There were simple things. Take Arun fishing. Watch the sunrise. Teach him how to ride a bicycle. Have tea together. Visit the mountains. Build something together. Watch a movie. Talk about life. Arun stopped reading. His eyes filled with tears. These weren't expensive dreams. They were moments. Moments that could have cost nothing. But they had become priceless. Because they were gone. Then Arun found one final sentence. His father's handwriting was weak. It said, "I hope we have enough tomorrows." Arun closed the notebook and cried, because now he understood. His father had been waiting for tomorrow too, and both of them had lost. Tomorrow is the most dangerous word. Tomorrow sounds harmless, but tomorrow can become an addiction. Tomorrow allows us to escape responsibility. If you don't want to exercise today, tomorrow. If you don't want to study today, tomorrow. If you're afraid to start your business, tomorrow. If you need to apologize, tomorrow. If you want to tell someone you love them, tomorrow. And slowly, tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes next month. Next month becomes next year. And eventually, your life becomes a collection of things you never did. Quota. The graveyard is full of dreams that were waiting for the right time. There are books that were never written, songs that were never sung, businesses that were never started, words that were never spoken, journeys that were never taken, and lives that were never fully lived. Not because people didn't have dreams, but because they kept waiting. The clock. Imagine that someone gives you a clock. They tell you, "This clock represents your life." You ask, "How much time do I have?" They say, "I don't know." You ask, "Can I see when it stops?" They say, "No." You ask, "Can I add more time?" They say, "No." You would probably treat every second differently. You wouldn't waste hours arguing about meaningless things. You wouldn't spend your entire life trying to impress strangers. You wouldn't postpone every dream. You wouldn't wait to tell people you love them. But that's exactly what life is. A clock we cannot see. Every second, another second disappears. Tick, another moment gone. Tick, another opportunity gone. Tick, another day gone. And the clock never asks, "Are you ready?" It simply moves. Second chance. Years later, Arun became a different person. He stopped saying, "I'll do it tomorrow." Instead, he started asking, "Why not today?" He called old friends. He apologized to people. He visited places he had always wanted to see. He learned new things. He spent time with his family. He started helping others. And most importantly, he stopped waiting for life to become perfect. Because he finally understood. Life doesn't become perfect before you live it. You live it and find beauty inside its imperfections. One morning, Arun woke before sunrise. He walked outside. The sky was dark. Slowly, the horizon became orange, then golden. The sun appeared. Arun smiled. He remembered his father. Years ago, his father had wanted to show him a sunrise. Arun had said, "Tomorrow." Now he was finally watching it. But this time, he wasn't alone. His own son was standing beside him. His son looked at him and asked, "Dad, why are you smiling?" Arun looked at him and said, "Because I finally learned how precious today is. The people you keep postponing." Let's talk about something important. People. Maybe there is someone you haven't called, someone you haven't forgiven, someone you haven't thanked, someone you miss. Maybe your parents are getting older. Maybe your children are growing faster than you realize. Maybe your friends are changing. Maybe the person you love is waiting for you to say something you've been afraid to say. Don't assume they'll always be there, because people don't come with expiration dates written on their faces. You don't know which conversation will be your last. You don't know which hug will be your last. You don't know which goodbye will secretly be forever. Quota. Don't wait until someone's absence teaches you the value of their presence. Call them, visit them, sit beside them, listen, forgive, love. Not tomorrow, today. Your dream is waiting. Maybe you have a dream, a business, a YouTube channel, a book, a new career, a skill you want to learn, a place you want to visit, a person you want to become. And perhaps you're telling yourself, "I'm not ready." Listen carefully. You may never feel completely ready. Confidence doesn't always come before action. Sometimes confidence is created by action. You don't need to know every step. You only need to take the first one. You don't need to write the entire book today. Write one page. You don't need to build the entire business today. Make one phone call. You don't need to become perfect today. Become slightly better. Quota. You don't need a perfect beginning. You need a beginning. Start small. Start badly. Start afraid. But start. Because a small step today is more valuable than a perfect plan for tomorrow. The trap of someday. There is another dangerous word. Someday. Someday I'll travel. Someday I'll become successful. Someday I'll get healthy. Someday I'll follow my passion. Someday I'll spend more time with my family. Someday sounds like a destination. But there is no calendar date called someday. You cannot circle it. You cannot schedule it. You cannot guarantee it. Someday is often another name for never. Quota. If something matters to you, give it a date, or give up the illusion that you will do it. Write down the things you've been postponing. Then ask yourself, what can I do today? Not next month. Not next year. Today. Even if it is tiny. What if today were your last? Imagine you wake up tomorrow, and someone tells you, you have only one day left. What would you do? Would you check social media for hours? Would you worry about what strangers think? Would you spend the entire day comparing yourself to someone else? Probably not. You would call the people you love. You would forgive. You would laugh. You would watch the sunrise. You would notice the sky. You would enjoy food. You would hold someone's hand. You would finally say, "I love you." Why? Because suddenly, time would become visible. But here's the truth. You don't need a terminal diagnosis to appreciate life. You don't need a tragedy to understand time. You don't need to lose someone to realize their value. You can wake up today and choose differently. The final lesson. Arun eventually became an old man. One evening, he sat outside his house. His grandson sat beside him. The boy asked, "Grandpa, what is the most important lesson you've learned?" Arun smiled. He looked at the sunset. Then he said, "I spent most of my life believing I had time." His grandson listened. Arun continued, "I thought happiness was waiting for me somewhere in the future. I thought success would give me permission to live. I thought tomorrow would always come." He paused, then said, "But I was wrong. The future is not where life happens. Life happens now." The boy asked, "Then what should I do?" Arun looked at him and said, "Don't spend your life preparing to live. Live." That was the lesson. The lesson he wished he had learned when he was young. The lesson his father had tried to teach him. The lesson time teaches everyone eventually. Final message. Tomorrow is not evil. Tomorrow can give us hope. Tomorrow can give us goals. Tomorrow can give us something to look forward to. But tomorrow should never become an excuse to waste today. For tomorrow. Dream about tomorrow. Prepare for tomorrow. But don't forget to live today. Because one day, you will look back, and you won't wish you had bought one more expensive thing. You won't wish you had spent more hours scrolling. You won't wish you had impressed more strangers. You won't wish you had worked every second. You will remember moments, the people, the laughter, the conversations, the journeys, the sunsets, the hugs, the risks you took, the dreams you chased, the times you chose courage instead of fear. Quota. In the end, we don't regret the chances we took. We regret the chances we were too afraid to take. So, if you have something to say it. If you have someone to love them. If you have somewhere to go. If you have a dream, start. If you have made a mistake, learn. If you have hurt someone, apologize. If you are afraid, take one small step anyway. Don't wait for the perfect moment. The perfect moment may never arrive. Today is here. Today is real. Today is yours. Tomorrow is only a possibility. So don't give your entire life to a word that hasn't arrived yet. Tomorrow is a lie when you use it to escape today. ***. And remember, you don't have to change your entire life today. You only have to change what you do with this moment. Because moments become minutes. Minutes become hours. Hours become days. Days become years. And years become your life. So make this moment count. Look around you. Breathe. Call someone. Take the first step. Start the dream. Forgive. Love. Live. Because someday, today will become yesterday. And when that happens, make sure you can look back and say, I was there. I lived. I didn't wait for tomorrow.